Who are we talking to?
Ourselves. Welcome back to the Mc&Marren podcast. Tonight's episode, we're continuing our series on the horror. Tonight we'll be talking about the Wolfman, or for lack of a better term, werewolves in general. So throughout the world, there are different mythologies surrounding werewolves. If we were to discuss that tonight, we'd be here all night. So we're just going to be talking about a brief synopsis of werewolves. We're going to be talking about mostly starting from the 1941 Universal film, The Wolfman. Starring Lonnie Jr. as the Wolfman. The Wolfman appeared in 5 Universal monster films: the 1941 original, 1943 Frankenstein Meets the Wolfman, where Lon Chaney Jr. again reprises his role. He transforms into a werewolf and fights Frankenstein. In the 1944 film House of Frankenstein, where Lonnie Jr. again reprises his role, a mad doctor revives Count Dracula, the Wolfman, and Frankenstein's monster to seek revenge on his enemies. Need I point out where he would go wrong? In the 1945 film House of Dracula, he again reprises his role where Count Dracula and the Wolfman seek out another doctor to cure their respective curses.
Where are they finding these doctors?
It obviously didn't work.
Med school criteria were a lot looser back then.
I'm sorry, did you major in supernatural physiology?
And then my favorite, the 1948 film, Abbott and Costello Meet Frankenstein, where he again reprises his role as a Wolfman, where Abbott and Costello pretty much have to survive being chased around by the Universal movie monsters, and then meet up with the Invisible Man at the end. The original film was actually remade in 2010, where Benicio del Toro starred as the Wolfman. I have not seen that one, but I heard it wasn't very good.
So, before we delve more into werewolves, I know you said you wanted to brush over the history of the lore because, like you said, we'll be here all day. But something that Colin pointed out to me yesterday, actually, which I think is very relevant to this, is the fact, or that could be very relevant when discussing werewolves in cinema and TV and film, is the interpretation of the werewolf really depends on the location of where you're from. Mm-hmm. In English folklore, the werewolf is a monster. But in Irish folklore, the werewolf is a protector.
Yep.
Which is probably another example of English versus Irish.
But we don't have time to get into all of that this evening. So, just a happy, wholesome reminder that your opinion of werewolves, much like our opinion on films and cinema and nerdiness in general, is open to interpretation and open to what you believe as well.
Yes.
There's also a confusion sometimes when werewolves or wolfmen are brought up. In some cases, they're distinctly different species in the same work, where wolfmen are monsters all the time and change at will, and werewolves are cursed humans who turn into wolf creatures and lose all sense of themselves.
And we're not even getting into the animagus here.
That is a topic for another day. So, in the 1941 original film, the Wolfman appears more as an anthropomorphic human-wolf hybrid. He has a human facial structure, upright posture. He has hands with claws. However, more modern werewolves, they have a more like a muscular, wolf-headed beast-like creature, and they also have various abilities such as enhanced strength, sense of hearing and smell, and they can also see in the dark.
To be fair, it might also be a product of we were limited what we could do.
Yes.
Yeah.
Remember, sometimes the film is only limited by the CGI budget.
I mean, it was made in the 1940s, guys.
We
World War II was in full swing.
I'm sorry. 1941, we were limited by the special effects makeup budget.
Yes. The most famous thing tied to werewolves is the full moon. However, this was not established in the original film. This was actually established in the sequel, where in the original film he was actually transformed into a werewolf when the wolfsbane blooms. However, in the second film, it was also tied to the full moon. It was also established in the sequel, Frankenstein Meets the Wolfman, where a bite from a werewolf or an ancient gypsy curse can transform into another person into a werewolf, whereas nowadays it's just a werewolf bites a person, therefore the curse is transmitted onto them. The original film also introduced the weakness to silver bullets. However, in more modern werewolves, while silver is still a weakness, there are other weaknesses tacked on, like for example, holy water, like vampires. But silver seems to be the common theme for most werewolf stories.
And also, if magic is an option, magic.
All right, so let's go into the main examples of werewolves we're going to be talking about. So who's first?
First up, probably the most recognized to the audience, Fenrir Greyback and Remus Lupin from Harry Potter. Now, we meet Remus in the 4th book, and we meet Greyback in the 6th book?
Yes, 6th book.
But we hear about him in the 4th book.
Yes.
Yes.
And the lore is pretty simple. You get bit on the full moon, you turn to a werewolf on the full moon, you lose all sense of self unless you take a specific potion, which is hard to brew and very expensive. And that's about it.
Yeah.
Yep.
And it's I'm not dissing the terrifying nature of the werewolf here, but we have magic.
Well,
This should be a very easy problem to solve.
I think also within the Harry Potter world and story is that, and it's important here to note, there are 2 werewolves that are discussed. Okay?
The good one and the bad one.
But in reality, there's actually 3 werewolves to discuss. Bill Weasley gets...
He also gets transformed to a werewolf by Fenrir Greyback.
Yeah.
He
But
gets...
going back to my original point, though, is you have a good one and you have a bad one, showing a duality of creatures. So basically, it's teaching the lesson that not all monsters are bad.
It's just the side that they choose.
It's the side they choose to fight on.
Also, can we just note, both of them have very wolf names.
I mean...
Greyback,
And Lupin.
Lupin. And it gets...
He's Moon.
It gets worse because in the backstory, Lupin's father's name is another name that also means wolf, or Lyle, which also is wolf. And his mother's maiden name is Howl.
He's Werewolf McWerewolf.
He was doomed from the start.
I mean, literally, it's like, let's write this character, and I want it to be a werewolf. I'm going to name it Werewolf, Werewolf, Werewolf.
Now, the biggest issue I had with werewolves in Harry Potter is that they're introduced, we're given the rules, it's very simple, but no one tells us exactly how this all started. They're just randomly are people who are cursed. Where'd the curse originate from? No one knows, or no one cares to know.
I mean, do we really need to explain it, though?
I mean,
So
we're
if you
trying
are
to
looking
cure
for
it.
an explanation, this is not a family-friendly of all ages franchise that I'm recommending here, but if you are looking for an explanation as to where this all starts, the Underworld series does a great job of highlighting this. However, it is not for small eyes or small ears.
It's more for like a teenage audience.
16 up.
Yes.
Older teenage to adult.
16 up.
Yeah.
Okay.
You must be able to legally drink in the UK.
Yes.
Second werewolf on the list, Lycaon from Percy Jackson, which I probably butchered that name. So Lycaon is a character from mythology, as is the case with Percy Jackson characters.
Mm-hmm.
He is the first werewolf. He makes his first appearance in the first book of the Heroes of Olympus series.
Okay.
And his backstory is he was a king of Lycaeus, and one day having dinner with the gods, as
Like you
one
do.
does, apparently.
Apparently, he meets with Zeus to have dinner every Thursday night.
Anyway, so he got the idea. Is Zeus omniscient? Can I pull a fast one on Zeus?
So, spoiler alert for future episodes, our next fandom forensic series is going to be...
Percy Jackson.
But I think I speak for anybody who has ever studied Greek mythology in any way, shape, or form when I say,
the gods.
if your question starts with, I wonder if the gods blank, don't ask that question. Just go home and live out your life peacefully.
Anyway, so what happened? He had Zeus over for dinner, and he cooked his son and fed him to Zeus. It is said in the book that is what happened.
Wait, he cooked whose son?
His own son.
Lycaon cooked his own son. Don't worry, he got revived afterward by the gods.
I'm gonna go watch Hades Town again now, thank you.
Anyway, so Zeus being offended because...
He pretty much fed
What
him.
on earth was that?
You fed me a human.
By the way, the son's name is Nyctimus.
That's not relevant to the story, but okay.
So, as punishment, Zeus turns him into a wolf and then kills his other children.
Oh, you know
because,
why? Because
I don't
sometimes wolves eat their young.
And then revived Nyctimus, and he became the new king of...
Yeah, but all of his siblings are dead.
Yeah, he's the last one. Also, he was the youngest.
Oh, so he was never going to be in charge anyway.
Mm-hmm.
But at least that gives us a origin. In the Percy Jackson series, unlike other monsters, werewolves are weak to only silver instead of celestial bronze or other magical metals. Still transferred by bite, but they don't change with the full moon. They're like full moon, I believe, is a force change, but they can change whenever. And they also have an ongoing rivalry with Lupa, the goddess of wolves. Because she's the mother of Rome, so she's good and they're evil.
Okay.
So next up is Oz from Buffy. That's you, Tori.
Played by Seth Green. Oz does not stick around long in the Buffy franchise. He really had so much potential for that character. However, Seth Green wanted to leave the Buffy franchise to do other works, so they wrote Oz out. But he did make a cameo in a later season after he was written out. So we actually don't get that many instances of him, quote-unquote, wolfing out. It is mostly the standard, you only change during the full moon and all that entails. Oz is more of a quippy side character who provides color commentary to what's going on, and it was a really good character because, you know, you're facing crazy scenarios and crazy things going on, and he's like the only one in the room who's still communicating like this is a rational train of thought that we're going down here. He was very sarcastic. His werewolf stuff was kind of downplayed, like I said, but did show enhanced strength, enhanced speed, pretty much all the standard hallmarkers of a classic werewolf. But he was only in 2 full seasons and then had a return in a later season.
So
he was kind of downplayed, but shout out to Seth Green because it was really well done. And that was actually Seth Green's second time being a part of the Buffy franchise. He was actually in the original Buffy movie, but his part got cut, like it got cut on the cutting room floor. But if you get the VHS copy of the movie, you can see his picture on the back of the box.
Okay.
So he's one of the rare people who made it into both the movie and the TV show.
Okay.
All right. Next up,
Enid from Wednesday.
Enid Sinclair.
And for like an episode, Wednesday. In Enid's body.
Oh yes, I forgot that. So, Enid Sinclair is played. It's right there. It's played by Emma Myers, which I think the weirdest thing for me to learn after seeing Wednesday was that Emma Myers is a natural brunette. She just looks so good as a blonde. It was so weird to see her as a brunette. But she did an amazing job. She is a very physical actor, which we see a lot more of in season 2 than season 1. So Enid, when we first meet her, Enid is, we kind of get the feeling one of the younger members of her family pack. She hasn't transformed into a werewolf yet.
And she's the only daughter.
So, identity crisis abounds, which is very common, especially in TV show iterations of werewolves. The concept of an identity crisis is always there in some format. So she is scared that she's going to end up alone and that she'll never turn into a werewolf and she'll have to leave her family pack. And then, spoiler, she does transform, but then double spoiler for season 2, she's actually an alpha werewolf, which is also dangerous and most likely means she will end up alone, which is the one thing that Enid does not want.
Yes.
So she is Wednesday's sidekick for all intents and purposes. And yeah, your thoughts on that one?
Roommate.
And roommate.
Also, her mother.
Oh my lord.
Her
mother
mother's a lot.
Is a lot.
Her mother is, watching it, I'm not sure if just, overbearing mothers abound in the Wednesday series. And while I love Morticia, and I will give Morticia a pass any day of the week because Morticia ultimately wants what's best for Wednesday.
And Wednesday's being a gigantic pill about it.
Enid's mom, I need a trank gun. That woman, oh my lord.
There are words we cannot say about her.
This is a family-friendly show, and I do not like that woman.
I mean, at one point, she even gives Enid brochures on lycanthropy conversion therapy camps.
Which,
I'm not sure how that works.
it's supposed to be it's a metaphor for something else. But it's just, she's so pushy, and you get the sense she is, because we know Enid has at least 4 older brothers because we see them in season 1. I would like to point out they are nowhere to be seen in season 2. Good riddance. You were a waste of a cast.
I mean, to be fair, they were just in the background.
Anywho,
For lack of a better word, horsing around.
Enid's mom is a overbearing boy mom. The brothers can do no wrong. The brothers are perfect. And Enid is the only girl. And she has not wolfed out yet. And she is the problem child. And you know what? Shout out to Enid's dad. That man has the patience of a saint.
Yeah.
Now, speaking of werewolves in general, for the Wednesdays here, they're called, they have a specific name. They refer to them as...
Lupins.
Just lupins?
Lupins.
So, lupins are just regular people until the full moon comes out.
Sorry, furs. They call themselves furs.
Furs. But they're regular people until the moon comes up, and then they cage themselves for the night, and then they go back to school the next day, and everything is hunky-dory.
Pretty much.
Except for Enid, because Enid, being a alpha werewolf, means she can transform without the full moon.
But she's also...
Fortunately, this means she might not be able to transform back.
Yeah, so that'll be the plot of season 3, whereas Wednesday and Uncle Fester try and track Enid down and trying to find a cure for being an alpha.
We assume this is going to be a part of season 3. Season 3 isn't currently in production. We don't know anything, although we do know it because the internet is dark and full of spoilers and because people have phones on their cameras. We do know they were filming in Paris a few months ago.
And we see Enid in human form.
So,
Could be flashback.
when would Enid and Wednesday have gone to Paris?
Or it could be...
Never mind.
Or it could be like someone is masquerading as Enid in their human body.
Because they do have shapeshifters.
Yep. So those are the main examples we're going to be talking about.
I think Colin has a few more.
Oh, did you have a few more? I'm sorry.
And last we have Hotel Transylvania.
Yes.
Wayne and his
myriad of
kids.
children.
Including Winnie.
Winnie, front and center.
And yes, Winnie the Werewolf from
Thank
Scooby-Doo
you.
and the Ghoul
Thank
School.
you. I was like, excuse you.
Yeah.
Winnie from Scooby-Doo and the Ghoul School.
If I had a nickel for every time there was a Winnie the Werewolf, I'd have 2 nickels. Which
It-
isn't a lot, but it's weird that it
Happened twice.
So, Winnie the Werewolf from Scooby-Doo and the Ghoul School is voiced by Marilyn Scheffler. I'm probably butchering her name.
Schriffler.
And we talked about her a lot in our episode of Scooby-Doo and the Ghoul School. Go check that one out.
And her dad is the Wolfman.
Papa Werewolf.
Papa Werewolf.
But speaking of Scooby-Doo and werewolves, there's actually several instances of werewolves in the Scooby-Doo franchise. The biggest one being in the sequel to the Ghoul School, where Shaggy himself is also transformed into a werewolf in Scooby-Doo and the Reluctant Werewolf. Which again, we kind of mentioned that in our Dracula episode.
Because there are 2 Draculas. There's Papa Drac from Ghoul School, and then there's Dracula from Reluctant Werewolf. And they are 2 different characters.
And I'm pretty sure just in the regular episodes of Scooby-Doo, Where Are You?, there's a werewolf that they have to face.
Yep.
Also in Scooby-Doo on Zombie Island, while it's not actually a werewolf, there's a were-cat creature that they have to face off.
There's 3 of them.
Yeah, but during Scooby-Doo on Zombie Island, during a full moon, they have to consume human souls in order to keep their immortality, otherwise they get transformed into dust. Right?
Isn't that Hocus Pocus?
There is nothing new under the sun.
But speaking of Wolfman and Werewolf Shaggy for a second for Scooby-Doo. Wolfman, like Wayne in Hotel Transylvania, is always a wolf.
Mm-hmm.
He's always a bipedal wolf. And so is his daughter. Similarly, Wayne and Winnie from Hotel Transylvania are always wolf. They don't transform. They're just wolf people.
Yep.
Whereas Shaggy is afflicted with lycanthropy and turns into a wolf. And you get the idea that he can transform back and forth, but he'll be stuck
Yes.
if he doesn't hold up his end of the bargain.
Yes. So, and speaking of other different versions of, well, werewolves, this isn't, speaking of werewolves, it just has were in the name and I find it hilarious. The 2005 DreamWorks claymation film, Wallace and Gromit, The Curse of the Were-Rabbit, where Wallace and Gromit are hired to capture a huge colony of rabbits from a rich lady's estate. However, Wallace has a new invention where he tries to brainwash rabbits into not liking vegetables, but as a result, he is transformed into a gigantic were-rabbit.
Because shenanigans.
Because shenanigans. Now, obviously, werewolves being a very popular monster, they've made their way into several different forms of media, including not only movies and TV, but comic books. Both DC and Marvel, as well as other comic book publishers, have their own versions of werewolves or werewolf-like characters. For example, in DC Comics, we mentioned him in our Frankenstein episode, Bigby Wolf from the series Fables. He is essentially a human detective, but in the fairy tale world, he is the big bad wolf that hunted Red Riding Hood. But in Fables, he is a human detective noir who can transform into wolf under great stress or when the plot needs it. There's also Warren Griffith from the Creature Commandos, a special forces group consisting of individuals either resembling a monster or different versions of that actual monster. For example, Warren Griffith is a werewolf. There's also different versions of Frankenstein, as well as the Mummy, and the Creature from the Black Lagoon, and a Count Dracula or a vampire, and in some places, a Gorgon.
So Supernatural Suicide Squad.
Pretty much. Again, this has nothing really to do with werewolves, but a werewolf-like creature. The Tasmanian Devil is a Australian superhero, aka Hugh Dawkins, who is a member of the Global Guardians and the Justice League, who can transform into a large Tasmanian Devil-like werewolf creature. He also has a gigantic T on his chest.
Okay.
Okay, what about Marvel? They got
Well,
anything?
I got one more from DC. There's a supervillain called Hyena who can transform into a hyena-like creature. But Marvel,
Very creative with their names here.
yeah, they are. For Marvel, we have Werewolf by Night. He is an anti-hero who both fought and teamed up against various superheroes in the Marvel Universe, including Spider-Man. And, you know, you're talking about Remus Lupin and his family names. Werewolf by Night's alter ego is called Jack Russell.
That's...
Okay, that's okay.
So,
Also, quick question. What is Spider-Man doing fighting werewolves? What happened to friendly neighborhood Spider-Man?
Not friendly neighborhood werewolf hunter.
he sometimes travels to New York along with Morbius the vampire.
Of course he does. Because why wouldn't he? What? I think, you know what? I'm a werewolf. I'm gonna go with my vampire friend and just terrorize New York.
He is portrayed. So the
Why
MCU actually did produce a Werewolf by Night TV special on Disney Plus, where Jack Russell is portrayed by Gail Garcia Bernal. I am probably mispronouncing that name. I will actually recommend that TV special because it harkens back to the Universal monster movies. It is gorgeously done in black and white. There's also introducing the monster called Man-Thing, which is essentially Marvel's version of Swamp Thing from DC Comics. However, Man-Thing can
It's legally distinct enough.
It is. He can obliterate people by just staring at them and make them explode.
Avatar had a character like that.
Yes. Also from Marvel, there's a character called Wolfsbane. He is a Scottish mutant who can transform to a werewolf-like form and was members of the mutant team New Mutants, X-Factor, Excalibur, and the New X-Men.
Let's hear it for Scotland.
Also, can we just take a moment to think about... There are some mutants who can do things like control the weather. Fire laser beams from their eyes. Are just a blue beast. And then there are some who are just, yeah, I can change my eye color.
Yep.
Anything else? No, that's just about it.
The lower half of my jaw is essentially a giant explosion. But my favorite werewolf character from Marvel Comics is Captain America, who was a werewolf for a time, called Capwolf. This is real, people.
What happened?
From Captain America number 402 to 408, Captain America teams up with Dr. Druid to investigate the disappearance of a superhero called Man-Wolf. Real creative naming on these guys here. However, Captain America is then captured by the supervillain Nightshade, who transforms Steve Rogers into a werewolf-like creature, and teams up with other superheroes with werewolf powers, such as Man-Wolf, Wolfsbane, and Werewolf by Night to defeat Nightshade. So for 6 issues, Steve Rogers was a werewolf.
I don't know why, but I need to see a comic where Cap goes back to Avengers Tower, has not told anyone what happened, and he's just fully in werewolf form, and Tony just looks up and goes, what happened to you?
Rough day?
It's also kind of, I love to point this out, so when Hugh Jackman was cast as Wolverine in the X-Men movie in 1999, he did not know about the character at all. He didn't read about it in the comics. So just hearing off the name, he thought he was going to be like a wolf-like animal. So that's why he grunts and portrays has wolf-like traits. And then it wasn't until after he was filming the movie, he learned that Wolverines are actually real-life animals. They're giant rodents that can take down actual elk and moose.
I'm sure at some point he was looking at the script and then looking at the guy who was playing Sabretooth and going, want to trade?
Is that it for Marvel characters?
That is it for Marvel that I can find.
I have an additional. We have time. Speaking of superheroes, for those of you who watch Cartoon Network or might want to get back into older cartoons, I mean, I know they rebooted it, but Ben 10 had a werewolf episode.
Okay.
So they go into, I think it's Nevada.
It's always one of those states.
And they don't know about the plumber stuff yet, but Grandpa Max is meeting with a friend of his who lives there, and there's this wolf-like creature that's been spotted, and they're playing with the idea of werewolves, and they see it, and it is a bipedal wolf-like creature that swipes at Ben and cracks the Omnitrix faceplate, which gives the faceplate the DNA of the alien, which over the course of the episode transforms Ben into the alien creature.
Okay. There's also another classic TV werewolf that we're not talking about, Eddie Munster.
Yes.
We actually met the actor who played Eddie Munster. I am blanking on his name. At both GalaxyCon and Arkansas Comic Con.
He's a very nice man.
A lot shorter than I actually anticipated. Butch Patrick.
Butch Patrick. Well, when you consider the fact that he never really had more success outside of playing Eddie Munster.
Yeah.
And we only ever saw Eddie as a kid, so.
Yes. So Eddie Munster, while he didn't really transform into a full werewolf that I'm aware of, he just had the wolf-like ears, the fangs, and the hairdo.
Yeah. But and he howled occasionally.
He howled occasionally and growled and stuff like that, but he never really full, for lack of a better word, wolfed out in the series, as far as I know.
No, but he did have a Wolfman doll, and he was probably, based on the time that the Munsters was made, he was probably the first official family-friendly neighborhood werewolf.
Probably.
Or Wolfman, because he was a little boy who, the Munsters was kind of like a call and response to the Addams Family, almost. Except instead of just the Addams kookiness, the Munsters, you had the father who was Frankenstein, the mother who was a witch or sorceress, but she also kind of had some vampire tendencies to her. Grandpa, who was a vampire and who was the Count, by the way.
Yep.
Eddie, who was the werewolf, and then Marilyn, who was their niece who lived with them, who was normal.
She was a straight-up human.
She was considered the ugly duckling of the family. But they were shown as an all-American nuclear family. They had, just kind of like the Addams Family, episodes about fitting in, episodes about kids going to school, episodes about, fundraising for your local community, blah, blah, blah. Good.
Teaching families who are watching great life lessons.
Yeah.
Recommend watching.
Yes.
Wholesome television with weird monster characters. And I think he was probably the first family-friendly on TV werewolf.
Unfortunately, the Addams Family and the Munsters, to my knowledge, have never had a crossover because they're owned by different companies.
No, they are owned by different companies. And then one more that Justin's looking at right now. In the iconic Gothic soap opera, which was later made into a movie.
Starring Johnny Depp.
We have, what is the character's name? Quentin Collins, who was the werewolf for Dark Shadows in the original, and then in the movie it is Caroline,
who is played by Chloe Grace Moretz.
Chloe Grace
Moretz.
Yes. And it's just an added character, and also really good, wholesome werewolves.
Yeah.
Werewolves are people too.
I don't know how they did it in the show, but in the movie it just kind of happens.
Yeah.
Just kind of happens.
It's just there.
Yep.
There are so many movies and TV shows that have had werewolf references, werewolf storylines. I mean, Van Helsing with Hugh Jackman also.
Yep. Another one that was an 80s movie and now a TV show, Teen Wolf.
Teen Wolf. American Werewolf in London.
That is something, but again, that is more for a mature audience. It
Yep.
was rated R. However, the makeup effects in that movie was
Are great.
top notch.
Now, it is interesting how over time, how werewolves have been kind of made to be enemies of vampires,
Mm-hmm.
whereas that wasn't a thing until like the 19th century.
Well, I mean, if you really think about it, no, again, there's been several mythologies about vampires and werewolves throughout the world, but the most iconic one that, as soon as you hear the word vampire or werewolf pops in the head is Count Dracula and the Wolfman from the Universal Monster movies.
Yeah.
And they have teamed up and fought each other on numerous occasions. So it's just kind of like they kind of took that idea and just took the next step of it. Another one, again, more for a teen, mature audience, Being Human.
That is, I wouldn't even say a teen audience. I would say must be 18 or older to watch that one.
Oh yeah, that is a lot more
The
adult.
original series BBC is better than the American version. I'm sorry. I know we're American, but the BBC version is better.
Mhm.
Be honest with yourselves. It's just better.
Now, I have not seen the entire show. I've seen clips. But there is one argument that I really agree with the others on. Because the others are like a ghost and a vampire.
Yeah, the concept of Being Human is you have 3 roommates, a ghost, a werewolf, and a vampire living together.
And trying to be as normal as they can.
Being human.
Shenanigans ensue.
Lots of shenanigans, lots of mystery, lots of great music. But once again, mature audiences only.
But the werewolf keeps going like, I'm a monster. You turn once a month.
Yeah, the vampire straight up calls him out and is like, if I only had to deal with my stuff once a month, I would be so thrilled.
Think about that. 12 out of the 12 months in the year, for 12 hours. That's about 1% of the year.
Yeah.
To be a monster. Then other 99% of the time, you're just a normal guy.
Yeah.
Also, just because I'm a zookeeper and I've seen this a couple of times in meme, where it's just like, in a lot of movies and TV shows, when people wolf out, they destroy everything, they go on a rampage, they destroy things, they kill people. Has anyone thought about maybe setting up like a boomer ball or like a jolly ball or something? Maybe they're just bored and they need some sort of enrichment.
Okay, so
also another thing I thought of.
Season 3 of Wednesday, I'm gonna need Eden Sinclair to have some kind of enrichment in their dorm room.
But here's another thing. Like, that transforming, it's gonna burn like a lot of calories, right?
You never see a fat werewolf.
So, imagine suddenly they've lost all sense of their human mind. And now they're a big werewolf that just burned through a whole bunch of calories and is probably very hungry.
Yeah.
No wonder they attack anything. Someone needs to just give them a snack.
A really, really big snack. You know that scene in Jurassic Park where they lower the cow into the raptor cage? They just need to do that for the werewolf, because I'm sure that would probably satiate them for the whole night. Does anyone else have any other examples of werewolves or any other sort of wolf-like characters they want to talk about that is family friendly that we can talk about a little bit more in depth?
I think we're good for now. I think we have.
I think we've kind of touched upon the ones at least that we're aware of and the ones that are in pop culture.
Yep. I'm sure there's some we've missed. I'm sure people listening, if anyone's listening, they're like, well, what about this one? Or what about this one? Like I said, there are so many stories, so many iterations, so many, there's just so much. And
so many rule changes, too.
We do not have the time. We don't have the time to cover all of that.
Yeah.
But you know what we do have time for is telling you what we're doing next week.
So next week, we are actually starting something different. For the whole month of August, we are going to be talking about nostalgic back-to-school series or educational TV shows. For the first week, we are going to be talking about Schoolhouse Rock, and then we're going to do Blue's Clues, and then wait, maybe I got to mix up. Blue's Clues, Magic School Bus, and then finally we're going to finish it up with Barney and Friends.
And yes, we know that there is a lot of educational programming out there. There's a lot of educational TV. We plan on doing this multiple years in a row.
Yes, we're mainly going to be focused on ones that we grew up on.
Yes, so this is our nostalgia, and then next year we'll focus on different ones. But so join us for the month of August for our Back to School series on educational TV.
Starting with Schoolhouse Rock.
Yes, starting with the OG, Schoolhouse Rock.
All right, we'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.